Now, because we got a Western theme with the Sasquatch Outpost podcast, I've been accused of BSing because I don't really know how to crack a whip. So let's find out. More. That, my friends, is how you crack a bullwhip. Hey everyone, welcome to the Sasquatch Outpost podcast. I'm your host, Jim Myers, and we've got a great show for you this evening. Hope you enjoyed the little bullwhip demo there. That was just for fun. Yes, I can crap. Yes, I can crack a bullwhip. Hopefully I don't crap a bullwhip either, but and I'm trying a new microphone tonight. So if it sounds funny to you guys, let me know or let Tammy know. Hopefully it's going to be better than the one I had trouble with all the time before. Been busy getting ready to go hunting. Some of you may not be fans of hunting, and I can understand that, but I try to go once a year, and whatever I kill, I eat. And I'll be hunting for elk. But I went out with my research partner, Wayne, and we went to do some scouting a couple of days ago. And we were driving around and went way up this one road that was within the unit that we're going to hunt. And we got to this reservoir, and there was nobody there. There was nobody hunting, even though we were in second season. There was nobody out hunting, and I kept thinking, this is strange. There's no camps, there's no hunters. So we got way up this road, got to this reservoir, and they had this little kind of a parking area with toilets. And so I said to Wayne, man, this would be a great place to camp. And we pulled in, and I said, what are the chances? And I walked over and I checked the door, and it was open. And I said, oh, this is awesome. We could have our own restroom right there next to our camper and don't have to figure out any other system. Now, it will be a week after that when we get up there. So maybe they will have locked them by now. I hope they didn't figure that out. And we're supposed to get some more snow, possibly here, probably up there. So we'll see. But I've never camped where there was a toilet right there that I could use. It's always been a bucket with a toilet seat on top or something like that. We had a great day. I was at the Outpost just briefly near the end of the day. And just in the 30 minutes I was there, I think 4 people came in that had Bigfoot sighting reports that wanted to talk. And one of them was from Wellington Lake. And it's interesting because for those who aren't from here, Wellington Lake doesn't mean anything to you, but it's a very, very popular camping site and lake. It's a man-made lake. And over the years, we've had, I don't know, 10 or 15 reports from that place. It's a really hot spot, and up till the recent times, and it's strange because people will come into town, into Bailey. They'll go to one of the other businesses in town. They'll tell them this long story about this Bigfoot sighting, and the owner of the business will say, just go across the street over there to the Sasquatch Outpost and let them know. Not once this summer did anybody who told other businesses about a sighting come in to see us and tell us. And I'm like, I don't get it. I don't get why that is. Or someone will come in to the store. They'll have a great story. One of the staff will say, Tammy or staff or anyone will say, hey, that's a great story. Would you be willing to tell Jim your story and maybe even be on the podcast? And they're like, yeah, that'd be great. And they leave their information. I'll call them. I'll write them. I'll text them. Nothing ever. And I'm like, I don't get why that is, why people would be hesitant to come in and talk to me after they've already told our staff. I don't think I come across as being an ogre. So who knows? But anyway, several people had stories from Wellington Lake, recent stories. And so Wayne and I need to get down there and spend a couple of nights because this place is hot, man. There's so much going on. And I'm hoping to have one of the gals on the show, so I'm not going to steal her thunder and tell what she told me today. But I was also spending some time on the roof of the store because when it snows, we get ice dams in the gutters, and then the water can't go anywhere, so it goes down into the foundation, and then it comes in the museum. So we get this flood of water in the museum, and it's not good just for safety, for people slipping and everything. So I've been up on the roof a lot lately trying to get the ice dams figured out, and ran out of time today because I had to get back and get ready for the podcast. And while I'm thinking about it, if you are new to watching and you've never subscribed, please do so. We're growing rapidly. I think when I started my podcast, I think we had 2,500, and I think we're almost twice that now in the whole network, in the Untold Radio Network. So we've grown a great deal, and yeah, I'm putting heat tape in the gutters. That's my plan, John. But it takes a little while, and it takes even longer if you don't read the directions the first time, and then you have to redo it. So I'm a typical guy, and I realized today at too late that I have to redo it a different way. So now it's probably going to snow tomorrow, and it'll be a waste. Also, just wanted to let you guys know Stephanie is away on vacation in California, and Tammy is moderating, and she's doing a great job. So I appreciate Tammy being willing to jump in and fill in for Stephanie. And Steph, you're in danger of losing your job. Tammy's doing a great job. Tammy's shaking her head. No. So hey, some good news. Why don't you put up that first slide? This week, we are the featured site on roadsideamerica.com. In the whole country, the Sasquatch Outpost is the featured site for Roadside America. If you're not familiar with Roadside America, it is a nationwide website that talks about unique, quirky, whatever you want to call it, places for people to stop. I think a lot of RVers use Roadside America when they're planning their trips and things. So I thought that was really cool. They reached out to us, wanted to do a feature on us. We've been in Roadside America for a long time, but they've never done a feature. So we are excited that Roadside America wanted us to be featured on their show, on their on their website. So hopefully we'll get some business out of that and people coming in. And then just a little fun thing. I've been working on a sculpture. I think I'm done of this Sasquatch. You can put that one up. Sitting next to a tree. And I'm thinking, I think there's 2 slides of that one. I'm thinking I'm going to cast it. So I'm going to get some latex and create a mold and make it so that I can reproduce this thing and sell it. It's just fun. Just a sculpture. For those who don't know, I have a Bachelor of Fine Arts degree, and sculpture is one of the things that I love to do. Although I don't do it enough. I don't paint enough. I mean, how many of us do our unique talents enough, whatever those are? And time just gets away. But yes, and Westward Magazine did a great story on us. Thanks for reminding me about that, Jeff. There was a very good story, and they gave us quite a few pages, and they took it seriously. They weren't mocking in any way. They treated it as seriously as I presented it to them. And so they said, this is the Sasquatch Outpost. This is what they're doing. Very good article. So if you ever purchase Westward Magazine, it was a great article. And again, I'm very grateful for that. So Doug is in the back room. So my guests, let's play our disclaimer, and then I'm going to bring Doug in. He doesn't need an introduction, but I'm going to introduce him anyway after the disclaimer. Welcome, Doug.
Hey, Jim.
Glad to have you with us. Doug just told me today he is just recovering from COVID, so I am really grateful that you're here
tonight. Yeah, I was literally fixing it. It had never happened. I was like, God, I maybe should get up to the hospital because my lungs were filling up with fluid just quicker than I get rid of it.
Wow.
And then this morning, it was like a miracle. I woke up and I felt just tons better. My headache was gone. My lungs quit.
That's
whatever
awesome.
They were trying to do, drown me.
Drown you.
They were trying to drown me. Anyhow.
Well, for anyone watching, Doug is the founder of the Untold Radio Network, and Doug's the one who recruited me to do what we're doing tonight.
That was a good move too, Jim.
Well, thanks. I've had a lot of fun, and I've appreciated the trust that you and Alex put in me to do this. Haven't regretted it for a minute. So it's been fun, but it's taken me 36 episodes to get you on. So not that you've refused. I needed to find the right time, and so tonight was that time.
Sure. Oh yeah, you picked a time when I'm half sick out of my mind.
If Doug keels over, somebody call 911.
No, actually, I think I'll be good. If my voice holds out, I'll be good. Got got double laryngitis. I got a raspy voice anyhow, and so now it's double raspy. So sorry, everybody.
That's okay. That's no problem. Just glad to have you, and glad to have you because of the network. Just tell those who don't know you a little bit about you, and then about the network, how this came to be.
I'm not really sure. I got to try to think. The network came to be because I wanted to do something to get me in trouble again.
Oh, there you go.
That's kind of been my whole life. I always take on projects that I think will be fun, and they end up, and of course challenging, but they end up being, a little bigger than usually I decided to take on. But we're getting through it, and the network is growing. So
how many are we now? 12?
Thankful to have talent like you.
Well,
when I first met you, I went, man, this guy has got the gift of gab. And you do have that gift of, I could never even do what you do. Just sit up there alone and just gab away. So you literally were made for radio. And
Well,
so
thanks.
I'm thankful to have you. And then to have you obviously into Bigfoot and this, and you being such a nice person and gotten to know you over the years. And
Yeah.
it's been great. It's been fun
Yeah.
knowing you.
We went to an interesting conference together in Vegas that
Oh,
we
yeah.
both hope we won't have to repeat.
No,
But,
but you remember how long it
oh,
took us to find each other in that
I know.
casino? It was
It was
hilarious.
crazy. We were going around, and we're on the phone, and you're like, "I'm over by this entrance," and
Oh
I'm
my
walking
God.
one way, and we finally found each other. But
But it took like an hour.
seriously, it did. I mean,
Oh my
and
God.
it was a big casino. Give it
Yeah,
that. But
it's funny though.
it was funny.
I just kept thinking, okay, we're lost in the woods. And
Yeah,
we were on the phone or walkie-talkie with each other. Can we get out of the woods? And
exactly.
we finally did.
exactly.
But man, I'll tell you, it got scary there for a while.
Well, we found each other, and then the conference was just
Yeah.
interesting. Is all I can say. It didn't go really well, and so. But Doug and I were trying to help each other out at different times during the conference with things that didn't go well, and
We pulled it off.
We did pull it off. But
Thanks to you, actually, in your projector, wasn't it?
my little old Epson projector. I mean, that thing is like a museum piece, and I can't believe that it even worked.
It did. It worked beautiful.
Hey, John, I'm not sure why your comments are being removed. We're having some issues with the comments. I'm not sure what's going on.
It's not being done on purpose, John. Everybody
no,
loves
it's not. Alex told us right before the show, this has happened before. It's not our fault, so bear with us. But yeah, it's not you and it's not us.
But what's funny is I see John's comment about comment being removed. So
yeah, I don't know which ones were removed, but
yeah.
Must have been the one where you use bad language, John, or something. No, it's not us. It's not us.
I always say John is the wittiest man I know.
Yeah, John. Listen, anytime John, we have a contest with trivia, he wins every single time.
Oh yeah,
it's amazing. It's amazing. But it's great to have people on the. I mean, it's great to have so many friends who come every week to watch this podcast, and I'm sure they watch a lot of the other ones too. But we've got a real faithful following for the Sasquatch Outpost, which I'm grateful for.
And by the way, Jim, I swear to God, you're just getting younger and younger and younger every time.
Oh, just keep saying it, Doug. Just keep saying it. I appreciate that.
You're like Benjamin Button there.
Benjamin Button. Hey, listen, I want to show some slides here. I want to get your feedback. So I'm not going to say who this was a video. I didn't post the video because I always get in trouble if I do that. But I've taken some still shots, and okay, so there were like 4 videos this guy posted from one hunting trip of Sasquatch.
Who took these? You?
No, I mean I took stills of his video, but it's hard to tell. Right in the middle of that shape, there's a face.
I see exactly what looks like real fur or hair.
Yeah,
it's not artificial. It's not moss. I don't believe
the color's an interesting color.
Yeah, it's really interesting. It sure looks.
But go down to the next slide. This is a different situation, same hunting trip.
Wow.
Now, it's a very human face. I mean, it's all I can say. And I know they do have human faces a lot, but there's a couple more from the same scene where this thing was watching from behind a tree.
Hang on a second. I'm blowing this up bigger.
Okay.
Now. Okay. I see it way bigger now.
Yeah.
It's hard to pin that on the disease that so many of us have. But on the same token, I mean, I'm looking at the hair and it just looks, where a person would think hair would be, and it just doesn't look correct.
Well,
but the face is pretty amazing.
Go on, Tammy. There's more close up. There he's turned his head a little bit. Again, it's a completely human nose for sure. Keep going. I can't.
Yes.
There's one more that's like
Well,
that.
tell me the story quick on this photo.
So this is again. This guy's gone hunting. This is in near Banff, I think.
Okay.
It's in Canada,
All right.
but he has 4 different situations where he got videos this clear, and I'm like, okay, I'm it could happen. I admit it could happen, but 4 different situations where he got one of them. It hit a tree with a stick and then threw the stick at him, and then this one, and then there's 2 more, I think, all from one hunting trip. And so my doubt comes in by thinking, okay, for most of us, we'd be over the mountain if we got one view of anything even remotely like this, and he's got 4 different
But here's the problem with these. The skin looks too stiff, too monochromatic. There's no highlights. I'm not seeing any shines from skin oil, little pores in the nose. There should be
right.
little Bakitsi, little reflections and things in the eyes. There's 0 reflections in the eyes. So what I'm looking at looks dead to me. Like a rubber mask, or it just looks dead. If that makes
it's
any
bluish.
sense.
It's bluish black. That's an interesting color.
I mean, it's got some things that are correct, but it's a very dead looking situation.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'm not making a judgment on it. I just wanted to let our viewers look at it and see what you guys think. But occasionally I'll get word. Wayne was the one that told me about this. I'll get word of a video, so I'll go check it out. I just don't know. I don't know about
But you have to remember, even under the eyelids, there's little pink areas. I don't care if you're dealing with a gorilla, chimp, human. There's little details that are not there in this thing, and you should be able to see those colors. I'm looking around in the brush, and I'm seeing very subtle little tiny colors.
Yeah.
But this is all monochromatic. It's a little too like someone sprayed it with spray paint.
Let me go back one more. There was a little color. Was it here? A little color in the eye, maybe, but
yeah, I wouldn't really call that color. And if it is color, it's not in the right place.
Yeah.
I don't see any, there's a thing called highlights in the eyes. I come from a long family of portrait painters and things, and I learned at a very young age about the highlights in eyes. I don't care what creature; they all have highlights. I see highlights.
We do.
Oh yeah, you're an artist. You know that.
If it's a suit, it's a good one. It's a good suit. But it's a better suit than the guy on the Silverton Durango train. I'll give you that.
Oh God, yes.
But this one, I just don't know. I don't know the guy. I've never really heard much about him, but to have 4 different situations in one hunting trip where you got 4 videos of the same Sasquatch.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm never 100%, Jim, and I'm sure you never feel you're ever 100%. But I see, a number of red flags for me.
Looks like a cyborg.
It just looks like somebody took spray paint, sprayed the hair, the face.
Yeah.
There's no highlights in the eyes, and there should be in the position it's in the lighting. There's sunlight coming through. So I'm just gonna go. Not gonna, put that I'm not gonna put it in my good basket.
No, not yet. And it could be a costume from another movie, John. You're right. That they reused for this.
Sure.
But I don't know. I'm not dissing this guy at all.
Yeah, the nose and the brow area are very detailed.
Yeah.
The eyes are what gives it away as being dead to me.
Now I didn't show the video of it hitting the tree with a stick. Now, I think I've talked to you, Doug. I know I've talked to a lot of people that I don't believe Sasquatch walks around with sticks.
I agree.
To whack a tree with. So this one had a stick. It takes this massive swing, breaks the stick, and then throws the bottom part at this guy's camera. And so yeah, yeah, I agree with you, Jennifer, with all the hoaxes out there. Even if any one of us gets a real video, it's going to be hard to convince people because with AI now, you can do almost anything with AI, and it looks real, looks 100% real. So, um, you know, we'll see. We'll see as time goes on.
Well,
We need a body.
I'd still argue with that statement on both counts, both in the AI and the no, couldn't tell. I think I could tell. I mean, I can tell CG to this day. I look at the best Pixar, the best Disney stuff they can put out on animals. It takes 1 second to see it's CG.
Yeah, but they're getting better. They're
It's
getting better.
but it's not there because you got to realize when you do hair, for instance, you have to actually have a gravity marker on
Yeah.
each individual hair. Can you imagine the time that takes?
Yeah.
And it's just, it's still artificial. Hair
Yeah.
blows in the wind a certain way. And when you do artificial gravity markers on hair, like human hair, especially, man, it just looks too, it's too smooth and too
Well,
fakey.
my middle daughter works for DreamWorks, and she tells me that they've got usually on the average film like Trolls. She worked with Trolls or Trolls 2. They had like 5 artists that only did hair. That's all they did. Those 5
Yeah,
artists.
it's the hardest part.
So yeah, it was quite detailed. I was amazed that so they hire scores of artists if it takes that many just to do hair. But
Yeah, CG just has a different look. At some point when it gets so good, I can't tell. I'm going to be the first to admit it, but I'm not there yet.
yeah, no, well, and you've got a lot of experience, so you certainly know what to look for.
Yeah, I've worked with a lot of animators, and
yeah,
I guess we all watch a lot of animated movies
do.
with animated. They always use, like, if they're going to do a scene with a tiger, they do an animated tiger nowadays
Sure.
to prevent the liability problems of working with the real animals.
Sure.
And you can always tell, it's
Yeah.
fake tiger, fake bear.
Hey, speaking of movies, any update you can give us on Legend Meets Science 2?
Oh, just that things are probably going a little slower than I want because now cold weather has set in. We had tons of bad weather that set in. It's slowed me down. And we've got another tour of shooting coming up probably within 2 weeks. So we're hoping to hit the East Coast, and we've got a number of things we have to do there in labs and all sorts of things. So it'll be, though it's just taking kind of a little break. And then it's going to get back to pretty hard schedule, I think, here in another week or a week and a half, 2 weeks.
Now, I heard that Jeff had been ill. Is he doing better?
Yeah, I talked to Jeff, and he was at home and resting, and sounded good. He answered on the first ring.
Good.
That was a good sign.
Yeah.
And he'll, he's got some recovery to make, but he said back in the saddle by January at the latest. Okay. And what he means by that is probably out touring again and, doing things. And I'm getting out in the field and doing everything. So.
Yeah. Well, good, because I'd heard that he had gotten ill on the cruise he was on, and that alarmed me. And so.
Yeah, well, I kind of depending on Jeff a lot for Legend Meets Science too here because we're working together on content, coordinating with the book writing, and that kind of thing. And so I need Jeff.
Yeah. John, you asked the question if I got a pic from you. I did not see a pic from you, but I've been out all day, and so I didn't look at my emails today. So if you send it by email, I didn't see it. So maybe send it again.
And by the way, Jim, if I have to disappear off camera for a minute and mute my button, it's because I got to hit the cough button.
Okay, no worries.
I got some tickles going on here, and I'm holding out.
That's fine. I get it. So one of the things that Doug and I have talked about, and that's fascinating, Doug has spent a great deal of time in Canada at one particular cabin, and tell us about this cabin and how it happened that you went up there, because there are
Sure.
so many stories from there that I want you to talk about tonight.
Well, okay, we got to go way back to 1991, or maybe even a little earlier, 92. Or excuse me, 1990, could have been 89. But I was at a sports show with my host, my TV host. I was doing a show called North Country. And he came up to us and he said, "Hey, you should come up to our camp. I have this amazing cabin. It's luxury. It's got solar panels, it's off grid, and it's 500 square miles, your own wilderness, but you can take a hot shower at the end of the day." Pretty amazing. We're like, yeah, let's go. So I went up there and I did a promotional video. But during that promotional video, the gentleman I was up, his gallbladder burst.
Oh no.
And had to be flown out as an emergency. So I was stuck at the cabin. It was me and Joe Frischella. I don't know if you know Joe.
I don't know Joe.
But anyhow, so we were stuck up there. And the bottom line is we had such a good time. We came back. And I just kept coming back. I would go up there sometimes 5 times a year, just because it was so amazing. It was
and you can only get there on a float plane,
yes,
right?
You have to take a float plane. Never had any Bigfoot activity, ever. So I would say the first Bigfoot activity happened was it 2008? But I'd been going there since the 90s.
Wow.
So how many years is that? That's like almost 20 years.
Yeah.
Going up there. I've even gone up there completely alone, just me. And gone up there and even slept outside alone because the cabin was too hot, because there was just nothing ever happened up there. I never saw any wildlife.
No screams, nothing.
Nothing. No.
Wow, interesting.
I never even saw any wildlife. I mean, never saw a bear. Never saw a caribou, a moose. Never saw a pine marten. Never saw anything.
Wow.
I saw one seagull. Usually every trip, the same.
And you're
seagull.
out in the middle of nowhere at this
Nowhere.
place.
But that's where we go back, and I always say the edges are far more productive.
Yeah.
Anytime there's a trail or a man, but there's no edges up there. There's none. So anyhow, let me take a sip here.
Sure.
Trying to get my voice to come out a little bit. So I kept going up there, and finally, we decided to take our daughters up, because we always took our sons up on occasion, and buds, and it was just a men's thing all the time. And I thought, hey, kind of ignoring our daughters, they'd probably really love it up here. I wanted them to, I wanted my daughter to see this amazing wilderness.
Let me interrupt just for a second.
Yeah.
Were you thinking Bigfoot at all those times you went up there?
No, there was something in the diary. There was a diary on the table, and they had talked about seeing, triple E 16-inch footprints.
Okay.
So there was something there was a portage that Chuck had built, where he had one boat over on this small lake, and you could walk on this island and get to this lake. And apparently somebody had found a big footprint, but I didn't think much of it.
But were you a Bigfoot guy at that time, so to speak?
You
were doing Monster Quest.
Yeah, I had. Yeah, during part of this, of course I was. But it was just never any activity up there. And I just thought, they're just not here because there's no edges. How are even they going to get here?
Yeah.
If that makes any sense. Because a forest up there is pretty much all black spruce. There's cedar trees, and there's some aspen, but it's pretty much 99% black spruce, it seems. So, I always thought, well, it'd be too hard to make a living. But there is a certain time of year when the blueberries are ripe, and that's in August. Now that does provide a good, where the berries are ripe, the June berries, the blueberries.
Absolutely.
So, finally, a guy stole I used to always go up in June for sure. June was like my month. The guy stole my month, a buddy of mine. He basically booked everything, and I couldn't get in anymore. So
and this is one of
a guy that I brought up there.
I mean, but one of how many this company has?
Oh, there's only one cabin.
Oh, there's only one cabin. Okay.
Oh, yeah, it's 500 square miles of wilderness in one cabin. And you could only bring 6 people at a time. That's it. Okay.
So he took your week.
He took my week. No, he took my whole damn month.
Oh, your month.
Yeah, he took the whole month of June, because he was going up there, and he loved it up there, just like I did. Hold on here. Sorry. So I started going in August. And my first trip was going with my daughter, Dakota. Joe brought his daughter up. Another friend of mine, his daughter up. And we were just having a blast, and the girls were having a great time. And, you could tell they really appreciated this area. They never even went in the cabin. I mean, they were just outside constantly playing. And we were catching lots of fish. And one day we were coming out of a lake I call Hidden Lake, a place where you always felt watched. I don't know why. We all did. Everybody felt watched when we went over there. So we were coming out. We were almost into the main lake. We had to pull out, and my daughter was making monkey sounds. And I said, "Why are you doing this monkey sound?" She said, "Well, they help me catch walleyes, Dad." Okay, fine. That was it.
Okay.
So she's doing monkey sounds. And as we're coming out, she's doing these monkey sounds, and there's a huge wood knock right by the boat. There's like a little swampy peninsula that kind of blocks the entrance, so nobody can even see how to even get into this stream. So that's why I call it Hidden Lake.
Yeah, so people...
I literally found it. Yeah. It's just no way to even see the opening. So anyhow, I went, holy crap, that was a solid wood knock, and it was right by the boat. And it made sense. And I thought, well, if there's Bigfoots up here, that one was warning the other ones that we were coming out into the main lake to take cover, get away from the cabin, God knows what, right? So we then decided to do a wood knock that night. So we were up there. We waited till like 1 a.m, 2 a.m. I don't even remember. And we waited till late, and Vladimir did a beautiful wood knock. And Jim, there was an answer instantly.
Wow.
That was the night when I realized, too, they probably don't carry sticks.
But they do would have had to have some other way. I don't know what they do.
Yeah, exactly. But they would have had to have a stick in its hand.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's where I totally agree with you. Because it was like knock and then boom, right by us. Literally just outside the firelight. So we're like... And
there's no other people anywhere around there.
No, you could bet your life on it.
Yeah.
It would be more chance there'd be a Bigfoot than a person.
Yeah.
Trust me, even the outfitter told me that. So we get this response, and so then we went on to have a rock exchange. I had Maria, who was the only girl she was older. Oh, I'm so sorry, Jim.
It's okay.
She was older, and I asked her to underhand toss a rock where that wood knock came from.
Okay.
So she did, and we had a rock returned. So that went on for quite a while, this little exchange of rocks.
Yeah.
And you could be the biggest skeptic you want in the world, but what animal exchanges rocks with you? I literally had a guy the other day said, "Oh, bears throw rocks all the time."
Never.
And I'm like, oh my God, really? They throw rocks
They don't have a thumb. How can they throw a rock?
They throw rocks all the time. That's what they do.
When this was throwing rocks back at you, was it lobbing him the same way she was lobbing him?
The same very gentle.
Okay.
This whole thing was very gentle. And this kept going on until finally, I don't know if it got bored. There was a huge rock that was thrown, not at us, but right by a big rock that was maybe 10 feet from us. And then that rock ricocheted into the lake, and then it was over.
Okay.
And literally, I'll tell you, everybody, when that wood knock came back, I saw skeptics like Joe was a total skeptic. Vladimir was a total laugh about it. Because in past, we had talked about it. Excuse me. And when that rock bounced off that other rock, and when that wood knock happened, he just turned white.
Yeah.
I mean, he literally was white.
I bet.
The blood just ran to his feet. And then these rocks coming back and forth, he was just amazed. I mean, everybody was amazed. I was amazed. It was probably the closest kind of intimate encounter I had ever had. Then everybody's getting tired. The thing's not responding anymore to anything. We go to bed. I can't sleep. I'm too fired up. And I light a tea light at the table, and I'm reading an old, 1980s Field and Stream, the type I'm talking about, kind of finding an outhouse. It's been in there 20 years, I'm just, and I'm reading this. It's the only form of entertainment. I'm trying to get tired. Finally, I start a little tired, and I go up to the window, flip the switch of light. There's a fluorescent light, battery powered above my head, and I'm facing the forest, not the lake, but the forest. And the moment I hit that switch, all hell broke loose, Jim.
You turned it on or off?
Turned it on.
On.
So it was dark in the cabin except for a little tea light. That was it.
Okay.
So it was, from the outside, probably looked pitch black inside the cabin. And then I walk up to the window quietly because I don't want to wake anybody up.
Yeah.
So I believe I had my shoes off, and I'm in my stocking feet. I walk up to the window and I flick that light on. I scared the living crap out of whatever was out there. So if you've ever heard of a person scaring a Bigfoot, I did it. And I just figured, well, maybe it could have been my white, gray, white hair.
What did you hear?
Oh, the screaming and rock throwing and something jumped up on the roof and was running on the roof, and more rocks and sticks and logs. It was just insane, Jim. It was commotion that could have no way could have been caused by just one animal. It needed to be numerous creatures to cause all that commotion. And I panicked, and I tried to get the skylight shut because it was open. And when I'm hearing running up on the roof and that skylight's wide open,
oh my gosh,
I'm like, oh God, if it's, because it sounded like more of a chimp running up on the roof.
Okay.
Heavy enough. You boom, 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 boom.
Yeah.
But back and forth, and the screaming sounded like two parents. It's the best way I can kind of, by the fighting. There was actual fighting going on out there. And then and when it got really freaky is when they started rocking the cabin from right to left, from both corners of the cabin. And I looked down and could see the floorboards flexing.
You mean they were pushing it?
They were flexing under me, the floorboards.
Oh my gosh. But they were pushing the cabin?
No, they were lifting it.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, lifting it up. It's on blocks. But still, I couldn't imagine the weight. I still don't get it. And I don't know, am I hallucinating? I'm looking at the floorboards and they're flexing. And that's when I really panicked. And I went in, I started trying to wake up Vlad, tried to wake up Joe. There was nobody home. I literally pounded on them with my fist. First, Vladimir, he's the biggest guy, pounded as hard as I could on his back. He didn't even move. And
it's like they were put to sleep or something.
Yeah, it was weird. And then it quit as quick as it started, and that was it. And then the next day, me and Joe were burning trash, right? The perishable trash that we had to burn at the campfire. And we're burning it, and we hear chatter again, like chimp chatter. And that's what Joe said, too. He says, sounds like two chimps fighting. And it's exactly what it sounded like. And we saw two upright shadows walk. Which is, it's kind of hard to explain, but it's kind of across a little bit of a bay where we put all the fish entrails after we clean fish. It's where the seagull lives.
Okay.
It's his little spot where he just sits there, one big giant seagull. And he waits there, when we clean the fish and we'll put the
He's well fed.
There. And he downs, I don't know how he downs 5 pounds of, fish guts, but he just downs everything, heads and skin and everything. Just insane. But that's where we saw those creatures walking right after we had cleaned fish. Somebody had dumped the guts over there.
Could you tell if they picked the guts up? Did they take the guts?
I didn't go over there. Are you kidding? I wasn't going over there to even look. I'm nuts. One boat always, it's usually the lowly guy on the totem pole has to run the guts over to that shore. I clean all the fish always, and so I'm not carrying the guts over that rock.
But you walk over. It's on the same side.
No, you have to take a boat over.
That's even a little bit scarier because you're by yourself.
Yeah, you could walk it, but it would take you a long time to get around that. half a mile of walking.
Yeah.
And over God knows what. I've never even tried to walk it because the forest is so probably from blowdowns. The roots are very shallow in this rocky soil that they have. It's huge rocks and slabs of rocks that are 50 feet wide, and there's a tree clinging to life on it. And the roots really can't dig down, and so high wind comes and they blow over.
So what did the guys say in the morning when they woke up and you told them what had happened?
They were just, I don't know, they really didn't say much because they were out. I didn't even know if they even believed me.
Oh, okay.
You would think they would. I know Joe would. Because why would I lie to him? I've known the guy 30 years. Why would I lie to him?
And were there rocks around the cabin and sticks that you could see that they had thrown there?
I don't even remember looking.
Oh,
isn't that weird?
Yeah, yeah.
I remember that was the day we had to leave. That's why we were burning the stuff.
Okay.
Float plane comes, told him about it. And that's when I heard about all the damage inside the cabin. And we were the first group in after he had fixed all the damage. Where something had stepped on this nail board. So something came into the cabin, destroyed the whole interior of the cabin.
Oh, I've heard this story.
Yeah.
I didn't know it was that cabin.
Yeah, and it tore up everything into little pieces. But yet, when I was there, I couldn't see any damage. And Chucky's telling me I told him about what happened to me. And, I wanted to see what he thought about this. Because has this happened before to people? And so he was like, oh, yeah, the cabin was destroyed, the interior. So he connected this dot. And he said, yeah, they bent the pipes in the bathroom. There's no toilet in there, but there's a sink, with thick pipes. Just bent it down, flipped over the stove, flipped over the refrigerator, flipped over the wood stove, flipped over a 1,200-pound gas tank, flipped it upside down, broke the pipe off it. Didn't break any glass. I find that interesting. No glass was broken. Tore up 50 decks of playing cards into little circles.
Interesting.
What human is going to come in and tear? You know how long it would take to tear 50 decks of playing cards?
That was meticulous. That's not just like anger.
Exactly. That's almost autistic behavior.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Took a boombox. Some idiot had brought a boombox. I wanted music up there. Why would you want music up there? Brought music up there to disturb the peace, but it was left there. And it got broken up into little tiny pieces.
Wow.
What else? I mean, there was just so much damage. I mean, there's video. You can see it if you go to History Channel on YouTube, look up Sasquatch attack or just type in, the video of this damage is on there. He did that video for the insurance money.
Oh, wow.
So but that's why he made
there was a nail board or something that it had stepped on?
Then he put the nail board there.
Oh,
but it was a screw board, not a nail board. He figured it was a bear. But I said to Chuck, Chuck, I've been coming up to this cabin well over 20 years, and I know every little nook and cranny. And there is not one scratch in this cabin that wasn't there from a fishing rod. There was no teeth marks, no claw marks. He said, well, the shelves were yanked off. And I'm like, you have to grab those with teeth, to rip them off the wall, or claws. It's going to leave, pine. It's going to leave claw marks. Usually bears chew up all the windowsills. It's one of the things they do. I've seen bear damage many times. They'll tear open the refrigerator and rip the insides out because they think it's an ant colony because of the foam. Breaks down, smells like formic acid. So they think it's ants. So they always if it's a bear, they always rip the interior out of the refrigerator. None of that stuff. The refrigerator was flipped over, but it wasn't damaged.
That takes some strength too. What it had done was pretty phenomenal strength.
But why if it was human vandals, they would have broke the windows. First thing human vandals do. Right? They break the windows. There's rocks everywhere. You throw them and you break the windows. No windows were broken. None.
Huh.
So they put everything back together, Jim, and then he goes, oh yeah, that's why we made this screw board. And I said, oh my God, I saw that. you need to put that away because some kid could fall on it, or some person that was leaning against the back porch. And he goes, oh, there was blood on it. And all of a sudden it hit me, blood. I'm like, okay, DNA, I'm coming back. And so that's what I did. I came back with Jeff.
Well, it's kind of scary to think that this thing or things had totally destroyed this cabin. They could do it again, and they could do it when you're in there.
Exactly.
I mean,
yeah.
So the fact they did it once doesn't mean they're never going to do it again.
That's really what's scary about being up there, because we never have any weapon, and we just feel vulnerable. We put butter knives in the door. One, it definitely prevents any hoaxing that anybody could possibly do, because it gets noisy removing them. And but the idea of the butter knives is just so if something does crash through these little thin doors, and the thin little windows, at least we'd hear the butter knives, and they'd make some clanging and dropping.
And you don't take a weapon because because you're going up into Canada, I assume.
Right. Somebody had brought bear spray up there, though. I could see 2 bottles of bear spray, and I threw it in our room when I was up there with Adam this last time, and that was crazy because I've not been there in 8 years, Jim. I did not expect any activity, but we went up there the same time of year. Night one, literally night one, the weather's crappy, but it's just kind of drizzly. It's not like raining.
Yeah.
Thick cloud cover, no moon. We had cameras out under the porch. I wanted to hide them under the porch and have all the IR lights off, hoping the moon would break out, hoping we could get some good, sharp pictures of feet. And I'll tell you, I'm laying in bed 10, 15 minutes. 1 in the morning, about 1 in the morning, might have been 1:30, and I hear walking up on the deck, and I hear walking coming towards the cabin. And that's quite unnerving when you're the only person for 500 miles.
Yeah.
And you hear bipedal walking, and then leaped up on the deck, starts fiddling with the grill. And once again, people could say, well, it was a bear. Well, we had left grease out on the grill with flour sprinkled out. So if it was a bear, it would have licked it up, and it would have, never was touched. So it's banging, and it kicks a bucket, and I'm hearing all this stuff. And when the bucket got kicked, literally it got kicked, with a foot. And I went, Adam, they're here. And so Adam gets up, and we're sitting there, and we're just listening. And oh my God, all the commotion. Then my side of the cabin got whacked, and the back of the cabin got whacked. You just hear all this commotion going on.
Yeah.
And then something grabbed either a stick or used its hand. I guess people are thinking now that we're up there, it was its hand. Just went boom, 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 along the joists on the outside of the cabin with the tin roof. I mean, this is human activity. This is human-like activity.
Yeah, it's human-like. Yeah, for sure.
It's not a bear. It's not a bear.
It's not a bear, and it's not a chimpanzee.
I just told somebody this story, and they're like, well, I think it was a bear. I'm like, okay, why would a bear terrorize us for like an hour and a half, 2 hours, never touch any of the food that was out there?
No.
And do things like, how does a bear reach the roof?
There's none so blind as those who will not see. They just don't want to believe it.
Yeah,
but
it's kind of nuts. But we got to get you up there, Jim, one of these days.
Well, as I told you, you get one cancellation, I'm there this next summer.
Well, the problem is, so already we're kind of there's another group I know wants to go up. We've already got a trip booked in August. The same guy said, "Oh my God, this was the greatest trip of my life," and the activity was better than we've ever had ever.
Yeah.
So I'm like, yeah, I'm game. I'll go again. But now another group said, hey, would you guide another group? And they probably want to go the week before.
Oh, wow.
So I might end up being stuck up there for a couple of weeks, which would be fine with me.
Sure. Well, as I said, if anyone cancels because whatever reason, let me know, and I'll be there. So.
But I've never done any wood knocking or any research in June, but never had anything. It doesn't mean June was beautiful. It was the most productive time of year to go. There's no bugs. Oh, by the way, we never saw one bug. up there in August, which didn't make any sense.
No, there should
No
have been
flies, no mosquitoes,
billions.
nothing.
Wow.
This is like, getting toward the Arctic.
Yeah. No, you're way up there, and the bugs in even in Minnesota, they're legendary.
Oh, they're legendary.
The mosquitoes are legendary. They carry you away. That's what people say. So,
Yeah.
isn't that weird? No bugs.
None. And we couldn't figure it out. Oh, by the way, I don't know if you want to hear more stories from up there.
Sure.
Or stories, but our activity started on the way up to the damn cabin. So for the first time, because my outfitter, who I've always dealt with for years and years, Chuck sold it to a guy named Wayne. So we had to go up to Wayne's camp, which is in the middle of nowhere, like drive, like a 20-hour drive.
In Minnesota? Or
No, into Canada.
Into Canada.
From Minnesota. Okay. Just drive right through the forest. But on our drive through this damn forest, on this very straight, amazing road, we were seeing moose, every so often on the way up. So it's a wilderness area. But they see this tree just going violently being shaken. They're talking a 30-foot tree, and it's like almost hitting the ground on both sides. Wow. And it happened right after my Jeep passed, or my truck passed. We were in a Dodge Ram. Okay. Sorry, I'm getting old, Jim. These trips, I've traveled too much. So we passed in our big Dodge Ram, and then there were two of them, two guys, that was Chris and Bud. They see this tree violently shake. And they'd never seen anything like that. A moose can't do that. A caribou can't do that. An elk can't do that.
It's back off the road, so you can't see what's shaking it, I assume.
Oh, correct. Of course not.
Yeah.
But they could, all the trees, a tree that gets that tall, a man can't budge it. Two men cannot budge it.
Mm-mm.
Two strong men cannot
certainly
budge
not to make
tree.
It go like, wham, wham.
So what kind of force does that take to make the top touch the ground both directions?
A ton.
And like you have moose in Colorado, you have elk, you have tons of elk. Elk can't do that.
No.
Yeah, they can make a sapling do that.
Even then, they don't do that. I mean, when they're rubbing it, it'll move a little bit, but they don't bend trees over. They have no reason to do that. So, that's
so it was weird. But okay, so that ends up being the second time they saw that because it happened again up at Snell. Did you hear the pine cone story and all that crap that went down?
No, but before we're done, I want you to tell the thunder knock. But what's the pine cone story?
Well, okay. So Adam got up early the day after I left. I had to leave one day early. I had to fly out early because I had a conference I had to do.
And we had Adam, for those who know the show, we've had Adam Colt on the show before. So
yep, Adam is he's our tech guy. He's a great friend, and Adam too.
Yep,
I think I introduced you guys because his parents lived in Bailey or near Bailey. Georgetown,
yeah.
So I had Adam stop in there, and you guys hit it off big time.
Did definitely.
So anyhow, make a long story short. So the day after, we had a lot of activity for the whole trip. That goes on, uncontested. Everybody had a great time. Well, then the last day even tops it off. They get up to just make coffee and pack and get their stuff out on the dock because that's their day to leave. The plane's going to show up unannounced. They usually show up kind of unannounced. You don't even know when they're coming in. And so you have to have your stuff out on the dock early. And so they got everything packed up, and the cabin's got to be cleaned and swept and mopped, and they put everything out. And somebody, I think it was Bud that it started. He walks out to the outhouse and comes out and gets beamed with a pine cone. And Adam got called. Adam went out there, and there's pine cones being shot from outside the forest. Those green hard pine cones.
Yeah.
And there's a tree all of a sudden starts going violent too by the outhouse, behind the outhouse in the forest, right?
I'll bet nobody want to go back to that.
Oh, hell no.
Outhouse at that point.
No. So I'm missing all this. They're there, and they end up finally getting the GoPro, and they film because it's packed away. Everything's packed walked away. And they end up filming these pine cones come shooting out of the forest, which we
wow.
do have.
That's cool.
And then they're just watching this go on forever. I mean, it's like they said they're literally sipping their coffee watching this show, which is nuts. But anyhow,
Just waiting for their plane to show up.
But yeah, while they're waiting, apparently there's this thing that they had to coin a new phrase for because they heard it swinging or getting ready to do this, and then they hear the big boom, which basically is described as an explosion or like, lightning or thunder. And they said they felt the shockwave. Literally, it was like 2 or 3 shockwaves hit them. What in the world are we dealing with here? And so he described it. He had to come up with a new term, the thunder knock. Well, since we've gotten that story out, I've had other people tell me about a thunder knock.
Yeah.
Didn't you experience the thunder knock at one time?
I did, something like that. Yeah.
So it's a great term because terms give us all a way to communicate.
Yeah. But the way they described it, if I remember, because I watched your show that night, was there was the sound of maybe whatever this was, they swung this tree going through the other trees and then boom, hitting whatever it hit.
But doesn't that just throw out our theory that they don't use sticks? See, that's what gets me.
No, yeah, I agree.
Christopher Noel has recorded many of these kind of almost gunshot-like sounds in areas where there shouldn't be any hunting allowed, or it's at night. Who hunts at night? Nobody. You
shouldn't be hunting at night.
Yeah, when you're hearing gunshots going off at night, that's kind of an issue.
Now you disappeared from my screen. I don't know if you're on.
Oh, I'm here.
You're there?
I've got a cough here, so.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, I mean the thunder knock. Yeah, the only time I've heard that, I was with my daughter and her friend, and we were hiking behind Harris Park, which is part of Bailey, and kind of the back end of Bailey, and we're quite a ways in, and my daughter was a skeptic, still is pretty much, but she was much younger then, and so I said to her, "Hey, do you want to? Shall we knock on a tree?" And she kind of rolls her eyes, like, "Yeah, whatever." So I pick up a branch and I go, "Bam!" And then 3 seconds later, it sounded like something picked up a tree and went boom. And I looked at her and her friend, their eyes were like this. And I said, "Did you hear that?" And they both went. And I said, "Should we go over there and see what it was?" And they both went. and it was humongous boom immediately after mine. And so too soon for even a person walking in the woods to find a stick or something to pick up and hit. It was like boom, boom. And so I don't know what it was. If my girls hadn't been with me, I probably would have gone to take a look. But anyway,
so what do you think it is, Jim? Do you think it's something they're doing with their body, or even possible?
It's made me wonder whether they have anatomy differences, like air sacs. We know what howler monkeys can do that's far beyond their size. I've been in Belize and watched howler monkeys, and they can make noise that you think, this is not coming from a monkey. This is coming from something huge. Or they're using their hand. I mean, whacking something. Or I've been out in the woods to experiment, and I would, with my wife or others, and I would have them going up the trail, and then I would do this, and they didn't see what I did. And I said, "Did you hear that?" And they said, "Yeah." And I said, "What did I do?" And they said, "You just knocked on a tree." I said, "No, I didn't." Okay. So who knows? But they're not walking around with sticks waiting for somebody to hit a tree. I mean,
no, only because I've had them answer too quick.
Yeah, me too.
By the way, I
Immediately.
was just going to address a couple of questions, Jim. I
Yeah,
didn't mean to
let's go back.
interrupt you.
There are a few people that
But
had.
John Ayers had asked whereabouts in Canada. Well, it's in Ontario, and it's about halfway up into Ontario, the midway point in the roadless area. And getting there is that's quite a it's a 2-day process, three days if you don't live in Minnesota. So it's quite a journey to get there. And then somebody else had mentioned the Thunder Knock term is getting around that. Somebody else was talking about it on their show. So it's good. It's good. I love that.
Yeah.
When people can come up with a term that we can all discuss. So then we can go, oh, this is a thing. This is not just a one-off.
Right.
This is something that's happening all over the country, coast to coast.
Somebody also mentioned that when we said they don't carry sticks, they said, well, they carry rocks. And I've heard rock clacking. Tammy, I'll tell the story because Tammy's here as a witness, even though you can't see her, but she was on one of the very first groups I took out squatching, and there were 5 people. We had gone down, we had taken the Colorado Trail, and we went off trail, kind of went down in this big ravine. We're heading back. This is the only time I've ever done this. I vowed that I would never do it again. We're walking back up towards the Colorado Trail, and I hear a bunch of kids coming up the trail. They can't see us. We know they're there. They're all talking and going on. So I said to these 5 people I'm with, hey, let's mess with these kids. So I take a stick and I go, bam, bam. And all the kids are like, Bigfoot, Bigfoot, and we're all laughing. And behind us, where we had just come from, we hear whoop. And I looked at my group. I said, who did that? And they all said, it wasn't us. And it definitely came from behind us. So we climb back over the hill and we sit down and we're looking down into this deep ravine that we had just climbed up. And so I went whoop, and I forgot about the kids. So then they're all like, Bigfoot again. And down in the ravine, we hear rocks go clack, clack, clack. And I said to my group, somebody is messing with us, just like I was messing with those kids. And so we hiked all the way back down in there, hiked everywhere we had been. There was nobody. It was deserted. But it cured me from ever faking anything. I've never faked anything again, because I thought, here's Sasquatch messing with me just like I'm messing with these kids. But it's too easy to, people accuse me of this all the time, Doug. They'll say, you take people out and you send them out in the woods in the dark, and they wait until you get there with your group, and then they make noises. And I'm like, I don't have any friends that would do that for me. Go sit in the woods for 2 hours? Hell no.
Exactly.
So I don't do that, for the record.
Have you ever heard one thing we recorded a lot of up there? So it'd be a lot of activity, but in between the activity of banging and like moving the picnic table and doing things that they would do and stomping and jumping up on the deck, we would hear this kind of a finger snappy, zappy sound. And we recorded literally hours of it.
Interesting.
It almost sounds like a Tesla coil.
I was just going to say, does it sound like an electric?
Kind of electric, kind of, you could maybe say snappy fingers, zippy zappy. And Adam heard it one morning when he went out to put gas in the generator. Mm-hmm. And he said he kept hearing the zip, zip, zip. And he thought, well, maybe there's a short in the generator. So he shut the generator off. He went to put more gas in it. And then there was a louder zip zap that almost sounded like an adult, like a lower, deeper. And then the other one stopped. And then it all quit.
No.
So have you ever
heard that?
Yeah. So the zip zap is another sound I've never heard that before.
But sounds that don't sound like they would come from.
But it could be rock
animal.
clacking. To bring it up, the reason I bring it up, it could be rock clacking. Because I did some, I was like, maybe it is rock clacking.
Yeah. And it could be because rocks, when you clack them, they can be loud. It's a very unique sound.
It is.
It's not like a wood sound. It's a very different sound. But Yeah, I've only heard that a couple times, the rock clacks, but um, the and other people are saying they've heard it too. It's there's so many things that they do that don't sound like they would come from an animal,
Yeah.
even a person. They're it's like um, Ron Moorhead talking about electronic sounds or the sounds of a car door slamming in the middle of nowhere. I mean, 8 hours ride into the Sierra Nevadas, and it's the sound of a car door slamming. And they're like,
Who knows? We just, we
well,
don't
I
know.
will say the last time I took some people out, we were out on this trail. It's about 10 o'clock at night, and there was nowhere for a car to the only place for a car to be was where we left our car a mile back. And we're out there, and I hear the sound of somebody um, locking their car. And I asked everybody, "Did you hear that?" And they said, "Yeah." And it sounded like it was 50 yards away, which is impossible. There's no way for a car to get there. And I thought, okay, we all heard it. None of us could explain it, but I thought, okay, that's that electronic beep that we've all heard 1,000 times. I have no clue where that came from or what made that sound. That was just
That's interesting.
it was
Have
bizarre.
you heard chest beating? That's something I've heard several times. It's been really amazing.
No, I've heard that, and usually I've heard of that, and it's usually in the context of a bluff charge, at least what I've heard in the past. Is that when you've heard it?
Well, that was my first probably Bigfoot encounter. I didn't know it was a Bigfoot encounter, although I had a clue it was because my cousin told me it was. So I went up deer hunting with my uncle and my cousins and my best friend. And my uncle had a deer stand for all of us. They were all about a quarter mile apart, right on the Canadian border, up in Orr, Minnesota. Beautiful wilderness area. I mean, we were up there at 3 a.m. We got up on our stuff, each on our deer stand, and we're all going to meet for lunch. He just said, like everybody, he told them what direction to head. They'll have a fire going. You'll smell the smoke or whatever. So the sun is just barely coming up, where they get that dark blue look. And I see where I'm in. I'm in like a fairyland of moss and ferns and big trees and old growth trees. And it's just beautiful. And all of a sudden I smell this horrible stench, which really caught me off guard. And I put my scarf up over my face and try to tighten my hood. And I'm sitting there like, oh, this is like a dead body. It's just horrible. And then all of a sudden, super loud chest beating.
So pop, 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 pop.
Yeah, it was just, literally my body, I could feel it in my body, the base of it. I knew it wasn't a grouse. I'd, already been a grouse hunter. I knew grouse make drumming. This was nothing like a little bird making a drumming sound.
This was flesh on flesh.
This sounded like 1,000-pound animal beating its chest. Okay, so here's where it gets interesting. It goes away once again as quick as it all started. The stink goes away, the chest beating stops, and I'm sitting there. And at that point, I put one in the, I cock my 30-30 at that point.
I'll bet.
And I am maybe thinking Bigfoot. I don't really know what was going through my head, other than that was weird.
Yeah.
And I get back to camp at noon. Every single person in our camp had the same thing happen to them.
Wow. They all heard it.
They all had they had the stink first, then the chest beating, then it quit. And then I'm going to have my cousin on who still remembers that day very well. And this is, my God, I was probably 18, 19.
When are you going to have him on so I can tune
soon?
into
Yeah, I'm going to have Scott on. And Scott remembers that day really well. And he was the one, it was him and Mark goes, man, it's got to have been a Bigfoot. What else could it have been?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
and I
true.
had never even thought about Bigfoot in Minnesota, other than the Minnesota Iceman, which I thought was fake.
Yeah.
So I never even, I don't know. It's kind of one of those things where you get it, you don't get it. It's kind of like probably what most witnesses that aren't into the topic, when they have a little Class B encounter or something, they just blow it off. Well, I blew it off.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the reasons why I hunt, in addition to getting some meat, is I know I never go by myself. I'll always go with someone, but we split up during the day and we go our own ways, and then we come back and meet. So I know I'm going to be on my own in the woods, and I hear stuff. I hear weird stuff when I'm out there by myself. I find weird structures in the woods. So I'm expecting that this time next week, something's going to happen for sure. But
I don't know. This is, there was some guy that left a comment on our network that basically said, anybody who believes in Bigfoot's an idiot, or, it's just something to that effect. I don't know if you saw it.
no, we get
I'm
our
so-and-so and I'm in the woods.
Yeah.
And I just thought, okay, I get that. I get that he thinks that. But on the same token, I'd like to have him experience all the experiences you've experienced or I've experienced.
Yeah.
And the things I've seen, I'll have him by my side and then have him say that, because I guarantee he wouldn't have any explanation for rock throwing
No.
chest beating and the stink. And I've experienced that stink numerous times. Always with extra action, not just the stink. Every time I've smelled stink, there's been other things that have happened.
And I guarantee if he was with you and those things happen and you said, since these things don't exist, quickly just run over there.
Could you please go over there
and tell me what that is?
Yeah, because
he'd say, no way.
Love to bring him up to camp and say, okay, go outside right now.
Yeah, when they're throwing stuff at the cabin. Go outside by yourself and just sit out there.
Go out there. And I don't blame people. I'm not trying to be mean to him.
No.
But I still wish that people would be a little more understanding that this mystery is not going away. It's fueled every day in this country.
Yes.
But numerous. I mean, it's probably fueled in every state. Numerous times. I would venture to guess. I'd say there's 5 to 6 sightings in each good state, in each good area every day.
Oh yeah, easy. I would think
it's got to be that
easy.
Many.
Yeah. And we just don't hear about them. Most of them we don't hear about because people don't want to tell anybody. And so
they don't tell anybody. But the thing is, it's not going away. Why would you ignore the world's greatest mystery?
And it's getting more often, more testimonies, more sightings. So
I'm under the impression the populations are increasing.
Either that, or they've decided that they're gonna start showing themselves to us more often.
Could be too.
So I don't know. I don't either. But
there seems to be. I certainly don't seem to have any problem having an encounter if I go to the right spot.
Which is crazy. People would never believe you if you tell them that.
No, I know that. But I've always got a whole bunch of witnesses with me. It's like, what are you going to do?
Yeah, no, I agree. And people are like, what percentage of the time when you go out at night or whenever you go out does something happen? I say 30%, 40%, maybe 50%. And they're like, what? No way. And I'm like,
it's impossible.
Believe it or not. Believe it or not. But it's also interpreting things that happen. People have stuff happen when they're hunting, hiking, whatever. They don't associate it with a Bigfoot because that's not what they're thinking.
Right.
So they'll associate it with a bear or something else. But in reality, it could be, or people that are camping and they hear something walking around their tent and they're thinking, oh, there's a bear out there. Maybe it's a bear. Maybe it's not a bear.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a Sasquatch. So, yeah.
I was going to mention too, I'm here and your show's pretty damn popular. If anybody knows how to get a hold of Jimmy Chilcutt, who I featured in Legend Meet Science 1, I've heard he's moved out of Texas. I don't have his number. I've tried to do it, sir. I couldn't come up with anything. But I'm looking for a latent fingerprint expert because one of the big categories that we're going to do, because we have so many to study now, crystal clear photographs, filmed in RAW, where we can zoom in on the sweat pores, and we've got the samples, and we have the sebum samples that can produce both chemical content and DNA, nuclear DNA. We have so many things from the fingerprints, but I'm still in search of a good latent fingerprint expert.
And his name was Jimmy what?
Chilcutt. Jimmy Chilcutt. He was unique because he, excuse me, he started a study where he was studying primate fingerprints,
Okay.
primate friction ridges. So he was going to zoos and doing ink blotter studies, with ink.
Mm-hmm. Well, I just had a thought when you mentioned that, and then it left my head. Did you ever do another analysis of the hair I sent you by any chance? You said it was bear.
Time, Jim.
The hair sample I sent you that you said was either bear or Sasquatch, but you hadn't yet
Well,
done
we
it.
sent it off. Yeah, I've got an evidence number on that. I can give you the evidence number. We sent it off. So it's part of the study. We haven't gotten results back yet.
Okay. I hadn't heard from
Expecting
you.
things fairly soon. Things start to come back. But yeah, it's been nice. I mean, I've been no shortage of decent hairs.
Good.
And of course, I had a lot of good hair too, even before I started with Legend Meat Sign, things I'd been collecting over many years.
Yeah.
But
I'm just curious. Obviously,
I really think, I really do think we're going to have some decent answers in this talk.
Yeah. Well, good. I can't wait. When do you expect that it will be done and come out?
Well, when I have enough results and things to present, we'll just keep filming. The longer we wait, the better it will be. No, I don't think so. We're definitely going to need some little into next year to film. I was, thinking, oh man, wishful thinking. We could get all of our outdoor filming and all the things we wanted to do done before the weather turned bad.
Right.
Didn't happen, even though we filmed a ton.
Right.
I don't have the money with this doc to be in 9 places at once because when you have a big budget, then you can send a crew here and a crew here and a crew there. We don't have that money. I have one crew and I have me as a director. So it's been kind of a problem.
It'll take a little while.
It'll take a little while, but it'll be really good. I think it'll be my best work, and I want it to be my best work I've ever done. And I want people, when they finally get to see us and these results go, it's kind of world changing.
Yeah. It should be paradigm changing stuff.
Yeah,
so
that's what I'm hoping.
I'm excited and I can't wait.
Bar raising at the very least.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Doug, thank you for coming on tonight.
Yeah.
It's been a pleasure having you, and you're a good friend. And I've as I said at the beginning, I'm grateful that you brought me into the network, and I'm having a blast. So,
well, good. We're super, super happy, and we just hope it goes on for years, and people subscribe, and we continue to grow. And there's a lot of really neat stuff happening with the network, and we look forward to a long relationship. So,
yeah, amen to that.
And thanks everybody in chat.
Great comments. We couldn't get to them all, but appreciate you guys all being busy in the chat room. So, and until next week, keep on squatching.